Yeah, welcome everyone to LearnAnalytics podcast number 2. Today we're grateful to have Jennifer join us. She works as a data scientist, and yeah, Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm glad to be here today on a Sunday, and it's been a pretty hot day. How are you doing?
I'm good. Been fighting off a cold for the entire week, but
Oh man,
much better now, I guess.
that's good. Progress.
How's the weather down there? Is it pretty hot? You're in SoCal,
Ah,
right? Southern California.
yes. Yeah. It's been pretty hot this week. I mean, last week there's some storm, I think, around Mexico, so it was a little bit more chilly, but this week's I can definitely feel the summer now,
That's nice.
even though I'm mostly at home.
Is it like the 80s or 90s or what's the...
It gets up to the 90s this week, yeah.
Wow, it's really hot. Like nowhere in the Bay Area do we get that. It's like always in the 50s and 60s.
No, not right now, is it?
Yeah,
wow.
It is.
Quite jealous. No wonder you got a cold.
Yeah, but I beat it, so I'm good now. So cool. So you currently work as a data scientist, right? Just wanted to maybe talk a little bit about what do you think is data science? How would you characterize data science?
Yeah, so I haven't started working yet. So let me just give a brief introduction of myself. Basically, I am a recent graduate from a master's in analytics from UC Irvine. And prior to that, I worked about 2.5 years in advanced analytics for supply chain and customer service within the e-commerce industry. And right now I'm about to start working as a senior analyst or data scientist at another e-commerce. I am going to be working for Petco starting next week. And the role itself is actually in pricing intelligence. So lots of analysis around customer churn prediction or cohort analysis. So it's very similar to customer analytics and how you can use that to strategize your pricing. So things like that. And as far as data science, analytics and data science in general, in my opinion, is very broad. So I'd like to divide it into 3 main categories for analytics. So basically, first one would be reporting analyst or BI. The most common title for that is BI analyst. Then you've got insight analytics, which is more of like identifying trends and patterns in the data, or using using statistics to make inference about the data. And then lastly, you get into advanced analytics or data science, where you actually use that data to predict about the future. So that is, in an oversimplified term, how I would categorize those. And yeah, that's my short explanation on that.
Cool. No, I think that's really well summed up as a short, concise answer. What do you think? So have you sort of bucketed 3 different things, right? You talked about there's a BI component, there's a insights and analytics more component, and there's more of a data science or predictive or sometimes coined advanced analytics component, right? So
Correct.
In the first podcast, if people remember, I had someone come on for more of the BI space, right? And today we'll be talking more about the data science space, right? So have you done other parts? Were you working on the BI stuff or the insights or the analytics, or did you just dive straight into data science? Like what's your, how would you categorize that group there and your work?
Yeah. That's a good question. So I actually, unlike any other data science in the field right now, like not the common ones, I actually came from a business background. So I had an undergraduate degree in supply chain management, that's really similar to industrial engineering, but then it's also got the business component, like, for example, negotiation, business management, and things like that. So I actually started my first job as a BI analyst. So
Got it.
although the title is not that at the time, it was a supply chain, demand planner, and supply planning analyst. But basically, I did a lot of reporting, using SQL and Tableau, just automating reports, making sure that it's actionable for the users, and do a lot of ad hoc analysis to solve day-to-day problem using data. So that I would say that is a BI analyst, typical responsibilities. Then the second year, I actually got promoted to do customer analytics. So that is more of insight analytics in that case, because I don't only just create reports, but I also do deep dive analysis. I use statistics to make inference about the data and understand if things happen just by random chance or if it's actually statistically significant. So that is what I would say insight analytics. But because of that, I was actually interested in, instead of doing reactive analysis, because all those are mostly reactive, right? You're just looking about what happened in the past and what can you do in the future. But I also want to do predictive analytics, meaning that I want to predict what will happen in the future before it happened. So that's why I went back to graduate degree and do a lot of predictive modeling. That's where I learned and do a lot of predictive modeling, doing competitions, also hackathons. So yeah, that's where I got my experience in predictive modeling.
Got it. That's awesome. Yeah, like it's really insightful to talk about, especially for people who are like new to data in general, right? When we look at a lot of data points, right, we're talking about past performance, right? We're talking about historical data, right? And where you're touching base on a lot of reporting and analytics, and we're looking for past historical trends, right? But predictive analytics is how do we use our past behaviors to really predict the future, right? And and to use modeling where maybe you could even speak a little bit more about too, right? So it's good to tell sort of the two sides of that story to it. So
so yeah, exactly. And for predictive modeling as well, there's a lot. It all really depends on the industry. Because like there's a lot of algorithms out there, right? You can overwhelm yourself if you want to know every single thing that's out there. So in my case, I focus a lot on customer analytics and marketing analytics. So the type of predictive models, or at least algorithm, that I deep dive more into were things that have a very specific use case for those fields specifically.
Got it. Because you, like, it's so broad that you're saying there's a lot of modeling techniques, but your niche or your experience is definitely in the customer realm on the marketing analytics side and modeling within there. Got it.
Exactly. Like I would suggest, if you're new or you're interested in learning about predictive analytics, before you even focus on the type of algorithm that you want to learn, focus more on the use case first. Focus more on the industry specific need. For example, if you're in customer analytics and you want to see customers' feedback, you wanna identify the overall feedback or response for the customers in terms of your service, right? Then you might want to check out things like NLP or topic modeling analysis, things like that. So focus more on the use case first. That way it's easier for you to understand things and you don't have to know every single thing.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah. Maybe what is NLP? Maybe to people who don't know what NLP is.
Sorry. Yeah. NLP is natural language processing. So mainly
what's the layman term for it? What does it do?
Layman term, basically you're just trying to quantify a qualitative measure. So a lot of the time, customer leave feedbacks and responses in text, and you want to try to get that into a quantifiable number. So is it a positive or negative feedback? So that is essentially the purpose of natural language pre-processing. But then there's still so many other use cases.
Got it. That makes great sense. Like example just like sort of popped up in my head. Like maybe DoorDash or whatever, they sent you a message right at the end, and then you can give them a comment back, right? And then quickly you build an algorithm to see, oh, that's a positive comment, right? That's a negative comment. Like you suck and you're great. So
right, exactly.
That's cool. So are you I guess in that data science world, right? I think a lot of the viewers or even people who just like maybe they have some experience in that BI space, right? Just like you said, they have some experience in that analytics space, right? But they really know like, wow, I really want to get into that data science stuff, right? For a number of different reasons, right? One reason that pops in my head is it's really interesting work, right? And there's a lot of the predictive nature, right, to it. There's a hot job or in-demand job, right? People always want to get into that, the fast-growing job, right? What would you say people who are really interested, what should their first step into it be, right? Like maybe from your own experience, right? How did you first try to decide this was what I wanted to geared more towards into and shift your career into, right? Like what was that first step that you took, you think?
Yeah. So again, to answer that, it's back to my perspective is all tailored around what is the use case. Like in my case, like I did a lot of for descriptive analytics, so it's a lot of looking at what already happened. That's why I wanted to be more proactive. So again, you need it's not just a data science job, it's not just a data science field, because in general a lot of companies also use the term differently. So it may not just be modelings or doing predictive models. It may not be that case in some companies for a data science role. So it all depends on what you want to do and what is the use for the business. So if you're like me, you want to be more proactive in your work. You want to not just identify what happened, but be proactive to determine what can happen if we do a certain things. Then I would recommend, in my case, I went back to master's degree first and foremost, because I didn't have that kind of background. Like I learned a lot through work. I did some regressions. I built some regression models in my previous work, but I wouldn't call that machine learning because I would still consider that part of insight analytics. But I'd say going back to getting a master's degree, getting that hands-on experience is really helpful. If you can, go on to Kaggle competitions. I think that's very beneficial because with, I would say, advanced analytics and data science, you learn a lot by doing. You don't just, of course, you have to read new algorithm. You have to understand how to use it properly and in what situation, but you'll get the most benefit when you actually practice hands-on on it. So go on Kaggle competition and learn it, and if you can, try to apply it to the project that you're doing at work if you're working right now too. But yeah, that would be my suggestion. Just hands-on experience. Participate in hackathons. That's also really helpful for developing proof of concept analysis. Not necessarily a deep dive analysis, but it's still something to practice your skills on. And join some meetups. Go to meetups. Talk to people. Connect and network with people in the industry. It'll help you a lot to open up what are cutting edge technology or algorithm out there that you can research and do things with.
Got it. So people who are interested in or curious about being proactive, doing more proactive analytics, so definitely get into the space of data science, right? Going back to what you were saying, it's not really about the title, right? It's more about
Yeah,
the use case and how you're trying to solve problems, right?
yeah,
And how
exactly.
I think you touched on the way that you found it useful for you was graduate school, right? And you found that because of the extremely good hands-on approach, right? Of learning these things that you really didn't have that skill set and building that toolbox to get there, right? So
Yep, yep.
yeah, that's a good way. Was there anything? I think you just said a little bit too. Like, what are those hands-on tools? Like, what are those tools that you use for your data science?
It really depends industry and based on specific companies or industry need, but a lot the most widely accepted tools right now where you can uh, train your models and build your analysis on are Python. And of course, if you work in a company that has a large data, you might want to pick up some SQL to be able to get those data out to begin with, and then you can run your analysis in either R or Python. But some companies still use SAS, or some even still do, I don't know, MATLAB. So yeah, it really depends. But I would say picking up R and Python would still be beneficial in general because data is always going to get bigger in the future. So a lot of these old softwares, they might not be able to handle those in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I think another important point maybe to highlight for us here, I guess, is like because we work in some ways or another, we work in data, right? So closely
Mm-hmm.
tied with technology, right? We're always needing to learn new things, right? And I think that's also a cool thing being in this career path, right?
Yeah,
You have to sort of actively learn and actively adapt,
exactly.
even on the BI stuff, right? Like I think like I don't know if you know, but just thinking off the top of my head, like a lot of roles like maybe 2 or 3 years ago were a lot of companies were using just mainly Tableau. I think
Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot more companies over time this year or maybe the last few years have shifted using Looker. I don't.
Hmm.
It's just in the Bay Area in general. I can tell a
I see.
lot more demand. They were looking specifically for Looker type of
Oh, wow.
roles. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's always changing, and it's always the tools are changing. But
exactly. Yeah.
you have to learn to adapt, I guess.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
exactly. And that's why I really think that going to meetups, maybe right now, through Zoom is really important because you may not always be on top of the new technology that's out there. That's why going through these meetups can open up your eyes to things that are out there and things that are on demand right now.
Got it. Are there any meetup groups maybe you could suggest to some viewers here that they could do?
Um, yeah, sure. Like around the one that I've been actively at least following in was I there's like the Our Ladies group here in Irvine, but I
Mm,
right now you can join from anywhere because they're doing Zoom. There's also the Orange County R user group. There's the deep learning group as well from Silicon Valley Deep Learning Group. They do mostly AI though, so it's a little different. And then those two that I mentioned before, they focus mainly on R
mm.
platform. So it really depends on which programming language that you are most comfortable with, or you want to learn more about.
Got it.
So those are the top three that I've been uh, pretty heavily active on.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Feel free to send it over to me later, and then
Yeah,
we could
for
link it
sure.
to the video under, and then
Yep,
everyone can see it.
sounds good.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I know we connected. Actually, we connected way back, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, right? When you were
Yeah.
trying to look into grad school, and when I was doing grad school at that time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then now you really, I think you're in good shape now. You're deep in the waters. You're into data science. I think you have a really good realm of it, right? I think what are
Still learning,
yeah,
but
for sure. I mean, we're always learning. I think for you, like in terms of like data science, right? Like what do you what sort of excites you as you go into this new role, right? Like I think what is the most exciting piece about this, and the company that you work for, right? How does that role sort of like do you think it's different from maybe peers who got other data science roles, or how is it just like your look at that? Like, is it more unique, or does it differ than some of the people or data science roles?
I would say what excites me the most on it is because it's um their e-commerce is kind of growing right now. So it's always exciting when you're a part of a growing team. There's a lot of work to be done for sure, but then there's a lot of opportunities that you can do. A lot of things that haven't been built before, and you can build it from scratch. So that's what excites me. Another thing is I get to now apply my skills in predictive analytics, more advanced machine learning, not just predictive analytics, to the same kind of industry that I had experience on. So
Mm,
I'm excited to, I already have the industry knowledge, and now that I have some more technical skills to bring in, I'm excited to kind of practice that with conjunction of what I already know. So I would say that's what excites me the most. And of course, getting to know my new team, that's always exciting.
got it. That's great. So
Mhm.
do you know, like maybe from the others, right, who also graduated, what type of roles
Mhm.
have they landed? Have they like, similar or different or type of things?
For now, I don't really know everyone's, but at least the people that I've talked to, a lot of them, because with grad school, it really depends on what you want to do, and it's a very broad degree to begin with. So you
Mm,
can, graduating from this, you can still be a BI analyst, you can still do data engineering if you're more interested on it, because like all the electives, they're also very they vary, so it really depends on what you want to do. So a lot of people that I know, they're doing data engineering right now. A lot of them are also doing data analyst, and some actually got role in BI analyst as well. So it depends. I
yeah,
can't really say, and it also depends on the company. Those title might mean different things in different companies as well.
got
So
it.
yeah.
Got it. So
Mhm.
I guess that's because the degree is really holistic, right? Like back to what you were
Yeah,
saying, it's more about
correct.
what's the experience someone is coming in with, right? And what do they
Hmm.
want to do with the degree, right? And
Exactly.
I think that's a really important thing, because like maybe some people might go into the degree but not really know what they're looking for. So when they come back out,
Hmm.
like it's not really sure what they're looking at, and they're just
Yeah,
applying it to every single domain, every single space, or every single job.
exactly.
And then
Exactly.
it just sort of becomes harder and harder, right? I think that's a
Yeah.
good way of putting at it. If you're
Yeah.
focused in on what you want to achieve, it's easier to achieve it, right?
Exactly. Again, y- focus more on the use case, like what you want to do and how it applies to the business. Because when I actually started the program, a lot of people thought they just want to be a data scientist. But
Hmm.
then what is a data scientist, right? Like what is the job exactly? Like it
Yeah,
wasn't very clear. So again, it really depends on knowing what you want to do and how you can apply it to business problems. Like, what kind of business problems do you want to solve to begin with?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we went full circle already because I keep on having this thought, right? Everyone who wants to do a graduate degree or do a boot camp of something that shows like, oh, be a data scientist in 12 months, be a data scientist. And, you know, like, but they don't really have a clear, like, what does that really mean? You know, they just hear
Yeah,
the buzz,
exactly.
they just hear the buzz term, right? And then they hear like, this is a great job. This is a hot job.
Yeah,
You get paid well money for it, right? But
exactly.
when it comes back down, it's like, yeah, it's like any other really data roles, but like, how are
Yeah,
you solving problems, right? How are you, like what you keep on honing in, building that use case, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Finding that.
it's not just a position or a title. Like it is very broad to begin with. Analytics and data science is really broad to begin with. So you have to focus on a specific area that you want to go to instead of like analytics or data science.
Yeah, hopefully if there's one key thing that someone takes out of this is that piece right there. Like hone into your skill set, hone into your own personal background, right? And your experience.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
that helps a lot. Cool.
Yeah, and for sure at least those three different areas of analytics or data science, that could be a good start for where you want to navigate your career into.
Yeah. Cool. It's exciting. Yeah. Any last remaining things to talk to our viewers about? Some last words of wisdom.
Wow, that's heavy. I wouldn't say a word of wisdom, but I guess I get this question a lot from my peers or people who wanted to go into the analytics or data field. They ask me what would be the difference of going to get a master's degree versus just taking a certificate online or
Mm-hmm.
taking any crash course online.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it really depends on your background to begin with. So if you came from a quantitative degree like econ or I would say statistics, then I don't know, maybe you don't really need to get a degree specifically in that, but in analytics. But if you came from a business degree, or even if you came from engineering that's not heavily reliant on data, you might
Mm-hmm.
want to check out getting a master's degree, because the main difference from an actual master's degree versus a online crash course, is that of course the depth of the materials are going to be much better in a physical master, not just physical, in a master's degree, right? Because it's literally an entire program with dedicated staff,
Mm-hmm.
faculties, and TAs to help you. Of course, they're not gonna spoon feed you with everything. The point of getting a master's degree is to get you exposed to a lot of concepts that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Then based on your interest and your experience, you pick uh, on each of them and deep dive or research more on your own, and you can leverage your TA or your professor to do a project or ask them questions in more depth about specific things that you're interested in. um, and versus just like doing an online thing, you're pretty much kind of on your own.
Yeah.
In a way,
Yeah.
some courses might have you do projects with other people, but still the engagement is different.
Yep.
And the network, honestly, the network is also a lot different, depend on
Mm-hmm.
how you utilize it, of course. But with master's degree, it is easier to build your connection because
Mm-hmm.
you are in the same program with people that are at least within the similar industry as you. Even
Yeah.
though some people are doing BI analysts, some people are doing data engineering, but you still can find people that have pretty similar interests as you in terms of industry or career.
Yeah.
So with that alone, it's a pretty good network to build upon, or at least you can participate in any Kaggle competition together or hackathon together, just any project that you can do together. And in this field, I feel like brainstorming with other people do help a lot. because there's so much to learn, and everyone has their own takeaways of, even with the same algorithm, people can have multiple different use cases, and that you can learn a lot from that. So that is I guess that's the difference between getting an actual master's versus doing online courses.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think you sort of knocked it out of the park, even though you said that's how I framed it, the last words of wisdom. I think you knocked it out of the park on that. So no, I think that's pretty cool in terms of like just seeing you going very deep into this. And I know you have a lot of passion about it, and I'm sure you're going to do a lot of great work and interesting things. I think similar path, right? I came from more of like the business and finance background, but I honestly love data, but I also love the business aspect, right? So I'm perfect. Yeah. I'm perfect for business analytics. Like that's my flavor. I really like that. Like I love the storytelling component, and there's no way around that. So cool. All right. Thank you, Jennifer, today on your Sunday to do our second podcast today.
Yeah. Glad to share. Happy to share.